Hi, my name's Jon Ablett. I'm the Senior Curator in charge of molluscs at the Natural History Museum in London. And I always tell people that my job is basically to look after the mollusk collections stored here. So me and my team, we look after about 8 million specimens. And these are mollusk specimens collected over the last 200 plus years, right up until the last few days. And we store them, we add new specimens, and we make them available to scientists and the general public in order to learn more about the natural world. I mean, every day pretty much we have visitors from around the world, generally scientists or students who've come to study a certain aspect, maybe a specific taxonomic family or the fauna of a country or a region. So they come here and I help guide them, help them to use the collections, sort of decode some of the labels, the old handwriting that goes with them, and really trying to make sure that they get the most out of our collection. They can really use them to solve whatever problem they're trying to. So not everyone is able to visit us here in London, so often get emails, phone calls, letters, the odd fax, where people ask me to help them with their scientific queries or ask me to look in the collection to find data that might enhance their studies. And that's really what we are. We're kind of the intermediaries, almost like the librarian, as if our collection was a book. Librarians are a kind of a nice term, sort of in parallel to curators, of allowing people to access their collections and helping them decode some of the mysteries so they can really learn more about the natural world. And of course, as well as helping other scientists, there's the upkeep of the collection, so making sure the specimens are in good order, they don't degrade, transferring the data onto electronic databases so people can access this remotely. We also help with things like exhibitions, teaching. Sometimes people from the press or from film companies want some advice to make sure they've got their facts right. And then with any time we've got left, we all have our private research. So personally, I'm really interested in snails most of the time. And I'm really interested in the biodiversity in Southeast Asia and South America as well, two really undiscovered areas of potential biodiversity. Okay, so here you can see Darwin's octopus, hopefully a little clearer. As I said, really lovely condition, apart from the coloration. You can see it's gone very beige. You can see, because it's an octopus, it has 8 arms. People often ask the difference between an arm and a tentacle, and there's lots of internal ones, of course, but one of the main ones is that arms have suckers along the entire length, whereas tentacles only have suckers at the very end at the tentacle club. But being an octopus, this doesn't have any tentacles, just 8 arms. And you can see an eye on either side. And cephalopod, as a word, actually means head foot, because the head, you can see in the middle here, is attached to the feet in sort of what it uses for moving around, the arms, you can see on the bottom here. And I guess it's a very strange kind of body plan, because the head is in the middle and the organs, the body, is at the top. So I guess it's a bit like us having our head just below our stomach before our legs. So all the organs are housed in here. So the 2 gills, 3 hearts, because octopus actually have 3 hearts, not one like us. They have 1 systemic and 2 brachial. So each gill has its own heart. And you can see here, this is where the mouth would be. So this has actually been dissected. So the mouth would sit in the center there. And squid and octopus and their relatives have a beak structure. It looks a bit like a parrot's beak, actually, made of chitin, and that sits in there. So that's how they feed, although this one, as you can see, has been dissected right open. But I said it's lovely to kind of understand that this specimen was collected by Darwin in Cape Verde and is now in the collections for more people to study. So like all the specimens here at the Natural History Museum, it's very much a working collection, and we use it to learn more about the natural world. Now, I mentioned earlier that it's beige, and one of the ways we preserve animals in spirit, so generally using alcohol, is amazing. And like I said, it keeps the organs intact, keeps the animal intact. You also get things like the stomach contents, any waste products that might have, the poop, also diseases and parasites. It's an amazing way of preserving specimens, but it really doesn't hold the color. So a lot of the organisms that we hold here go sort of beige, brown color after a long time. And incidentally, that's one reason why lots of the early voyages took artists and painters with them to capture the beautiful colors of these animals before the coloration started to fade. And as you said, Darwin was absolutely obsessed with this animal. I'm not sure if he'd ever seen a live octopus, but it certainly very much fascinated him. And he watched it playing in the rock pools, and he did keep it alive for a few days, I believe, in a bucket of water in order to study it further. One interesting fact is that he writes in his diaries that this common octopus showed bioluminescence, so it actually lit up in the dark, like lots of deep sea animals do. We think of things like anglerfish lighting up, and lots of animals do glow in the dark. But unfortunately, the common octopus does not have any bioluminescent organs. So what we think was happening was that Darwin had picked up the octopus, put it in a bucket of seawater, and probably there were other bioluminescent microorganisms in the water. And as the octopus was moving around the bucket, it was stimulating these to flash rather than the octopus itself. But yeah, such an amazing specimen. And to think that, collected by Darwin in 1831 and now in my collections, it's a real honor to look after this.
Just introducing Barbara here. Barbara is our common octopus. She's very, very new to the aquarium. She's only been here for about a month. She's getting settled in. She's getting comfortable in her tank. And she is really, really being someone that everyone is very excited to come and see here at the aquarium. If we look in the tank, you can see that she's really showing off her amazing 8 arms.
Like
she's
balls,
stretching out with them. She's playing, and she's using those strong suckers to hold on, but also experience the world around her. She can actually taste using those suckers on her arms, which is very, very helpful to be able to really get an understanding of what's happening in the water around her. But if I think about being able to taste with my feet and my arms and thinking about tasting everything I touch and everything I walk on, I'm not sure that I'd enjoy that very much. But as well as her amazing 8 arms, Barbara also has 3 hearts. She's got 2 hearts, one on each side of her gills, and they help pump oxygenated blood to her systemic heart, which is in the center of her body there. And that's really, really important, as I said, for those nice, strong arms that she has got there. We heard earlier that she's also got a beak, and that beak is actually the only hard part in her body. She doesn't have any bones whatsoever, which means she can be really, really squishy. And when she wants to, she can squeeze into the smallest spaces. If a space is bigger than her beak, which for an octopus of her size is probably about the size of a 20p piece, then she can get through. So octopuses are excellent at hiding and squeezing through teeny tiny spaces. Another thing that they're absolutely brilliant at is camouflage. All over an octopus's body are something called chromatophores. And chromatophores are pigment-filled cells that can expand and contract, bringing that pigment to the surface or away again to change color. And they can even change their texture as well. And this is really useful for lots and lots of different reasons. It helps them hide from predators. They don't want to get eaten, and a lot of people do think they're a tasty snack. So they're able to hide from predators by changing color and camouflaging into their habitat. They can also use this camouflage to hide up from their prey. So octopuses are what we call ambush predators, which means when it's time for them to hunt, they'll get nice and settled in a little crook or a nook of maybe a rock pool, and they'll change color so that they're camouflaged in beautifully. And then they'll wait, and they'll be very still and very quiet.
There you go.
And then, when the crab is least expecting it, they'll attack, and the poor crab won't even have seen them coming. So camouflage is really important for hunting. It's really important for staying safe. But another thing that octopuses can use their camouflage skills for, their color changing ability, is to express their emotions. So this is what color we normally see Barbara. This is her chilled, happy colors. She's a little bit of a lighter brown. If she's really happy, especially after she's just eaten, she's nice and full, she's nice and content, she'll go almost a white color, really, really light.
Good girl.
But if she's hungry, and even worse, if she's hangry and she's waiting for her food, then she will go a much darker colour. It'll go really, really deep red, and that'll be her showing the biologist that she is ready for dinner and she is getting hungry. So those camouflaging skills are really, really important for her to be able to express emotions, which is something that not a lot of other animals can do. Now, you might be wondering what on earth is happening in this tank. There's a ball there, there's a toy stuck to the window, and if you want to follow me, we're going to go behind the scenes and we're going to talk to Emily, who is the biologist attached to those hands. So come with me and let's find out what it is that she's doing. So this is top secret VIP back of house areas. And if you can follow me up here, I'd like to introduce you to my friend Emily. Emily, can you say hello to everyone?
Hi, everyone.
And can you tell us what on earth you're doing in here with all these toys and with Barbara?
So, because Barbara is obviously a very clever octopus have about the intelligence of about a 4-year-old. So, because she's in our tanks, we like to make sure that she's entertained every day. We give her lots of toys, lots of enrichment. So, as you can see, she had her little spinny ball. If you look behind Becky over here, she's got boxes and boxes of toys.
So many toys.
Over here, she's got even more toys. So she's got a variety. We make sure that she doesn't get the same thing, the same interaction every day, just to give her a really full, very enriched life, because she is a very, very clever octopus.
That's amazing. So you said she was about as clever as a 4-year-old child.
Yes.
That's amazing. So if anyone's watching who maybe has any little brothers or sisters, there is a chance that Barbara the octopus is as smart as them. Is that right?
Yeah, and as you know, with your little brothers and sisters, she's just as much trouble as them as well. So
excellent. So she's got lots of toys to play with. And do you feed her any differently because of this intelligence?
Yeah, so we make sure that she gets a really big variety of everything. So she will often eat prawns. She's not a massive fan of mussels, we found out recently.
Fair enough.
Crabs, lots of things like that. So we make sure that she gets a really, really varied diet. And also we feed her, so she's got to figure out how to get her food out. So if you look underneath there, we will often end up giving her things like the pipes, putting her food into the pipe. So she's got to work out how to get her food out of the pipe from the end of it, just to make sure that she's really engaging her brain, because she's a very, very smart little octopus.
It makes it a little bit more challenging, which I imagine makes it a little bit more interesting for her as well.
Oh, yeah, and it makes it more interesting for us as well. So.
Yeah, I'd imagine that's fairly important too. So we know that you look after octopuses a little bit differently than some of the other animals because of that intelligence. Yeah. And we're here at the Ocean Conservation Trust because we want to conserve the animals, not just here in our aquarium, but out in the ocean. So are there any problems that octopuses are facing, any threats?
There are a few threats that octopus are facing, not necessarily to the octopus themselves, but ocean acidification is one of them. Because obviously, like I mentioned before, we are feeding her crabs, things like that. And obviously crabs have calcium in their shells, and if the ocean's becoming more acidic, the shells of the crabs are going to start degrading, probably seeing less crabs, which are going to therefore affect the octopus, which are further up the food chain.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. So the ocean acidification is affecting the octopus's food source.
Yeah.
And I'd imagine their home as well, because octopuses like to live on coral reefs, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%. So the less coral cover that we're seeing, the less food sources that they're going to have, this is going to eventually impact a very, very beautiful creature. So.
Okay.